You're on the clock with Tyler Jennings and Jared Perkins, a Prospects Live podcast for everything MLB Draft related. Join us as we discuss the biggest stories from college and high school baseball, bring you interviews from your favorite draft prospects, and break down live looks with Prospects Live analysis across the nation. Get ready, because you're on a clock with Tyler Jennings and Jared Perkins.
Alrighty, welcome to another episode of On the Clock by Prospects Live. I'm Jared Perkins. That's Tyler Jennings. If you can't tell, we're recording on Monday night during the middle of the NC State Georgia game, so you might get live reactions from Tyler, big NC State guy. Tyler, how are you doing today?
Just a little stressed, no big deal. Just watch, for reference, we're bottom of 8, 2 outs, and the second out, I honestly don't know how they upheld it, to be honest. So, we're out of the 8th. So, we just 3 more outs.
3 more outs, 4 runs, NC State bullpen. Let's go.
Yeah. Let me
Who's
tell
the closer?
you,
Or do you have a closer?
Yeah, Derek Smith. Okay. He's in right now. It was Whitaker, put in Duden, who got out bases loaded in the 5th with 1 out.
Love that.
Which included striking out Condon. He found the cheat code on Condon. So,
who's up for Georgia?
It's bottom of lineup, I think, right now.
That's good, at least. Maybe.
But yeah, I think it turns over to the top in the 9th. So we'll see. But it's just a little stress right now, and it'd be nice if State wasn't wearing the military camo uniforms, because I get why they do it. Don't get me wrong, and I like that they do it. Yeah. But by God, add some white outline to that freaking lettering, man. It's so hard to read the logo and the numbers on the jerseys. It is so weird to look at.
SC State or NC State equipment guy, if you're listening, order some new jerseys for the baseball team. Thanks.
Not even the equipment guy. Just get the athletic director.
True.
Boo. Just listen to this, please. Please add some outlines to the numbers.
He's definitely listening to this podcast, so for sure, 100%, guaranteed. He has nothing else to do with his day. You don't know.
I mean, he might, but
yeah,
we're priority. We're priority number 1. NC State's priority number 2 for him. So
yeah. I mean, we're great entertainment. Why would he not want to make us number 1? Speaking of Super Regionals, besides NC State and Georgia, we have all the other Super Regionals listed off. Punch tickets. We got North Carolina, who will be playing Virginia in Game 1 of the College World Series. Got Tennessee playing Florida State. We got Kentucky playing either Georgia or NC State, depending on the outcome of this game. We got Texas A&M playing Florida. It seems to me like there's a lot of shocking matchups or shocking upsets here. Who for you is kind of the biggest shock getting into the College World Series?
Definitely Florida over Clemson.
Yeah, that was the one that stuck out to me too.
And I think just looking at that Florida roster, the talent's there. It's pretty obvious. They had one of the toughest strength of schedules, if not the toughest in the country. But just everything never clicked. It never really did during the regular season. They were just over 500. I think they were 29 and 28 or 28, 27 or something like that. But the thing that really stands out right now is Ashton Wilson has come in. He has been dynamite for the Gators here in the past couple of weeks. The best part about postseason play is if you get hot at the right time, it's going to lead to success. As you stated a couple of years ago, it was one of the hottest teams kind of stretch in 2021, made it to Omaha. Florida's done it this year. I've made the joke that Soli has basically pulled us out of his ass, and he kind of has. But, you beat a really tough Oklahoma State team coming out of the loser's bracket in Stillwater. You have 2 exceptional games in Clemson, man. Yeah. Brandon Neely's made some really good money here. This is a really talented Florida team here. And, just looking at the roster, the roster for Omaha at this point, as we're still waiting for the last game to kind of go through, it's all SEC and all ACC. It's only 2 conferences this year.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first time since they adopted the 8-team format in Omaha. So,
bad showing for the Pac-12 as Oregon and Oregon State both got taken out.
Yeah, I don't know what Oregon was doing last night with keeping Brock Moore in when he was just falling apart.
Yeah.
That was a little shocking to me. And even like Nelson Keljo for Oregon State, just nonchalantly walking the home plate on that pass ball. Gotta be more
that
aware
was
of
not good.
Yeah, you gotta
I
be more
saw that
aware.
video. That's like baseball, what not to do 101.
Yeah, and like
Home plate. That's can't do that.
yeah, and it's a tie game too. That's the run that sent Kentucky to Omaha for the first time. That's he's gonna be remembering that for a long time. And
You learn that at a young age, man. When you're getting coached in baseball, like cover home plate. If you don't do it, you get screamed at by your coach. There's a reason for it.
yeah, so
It's
yeah,
not
that
there.
I don't want to say it was brutal to watch. Like you don't put the effort in to cover home, you kind of deserve that. But
Yeah.
I mean, obviously a tough way for Pac-12 to end. Because with the end of that game, the Pac-12 is officially done. Rest in peace to Pac-12 after dark. Mentioned it before. Not a big fan of realignment right now, and it really sucks to see the Pac-12 go down, especially with Oregon State being left behind. That baseball team deserves to be in a power conference, and I think we covered it before. I think they're going like just independent, kind of like what Notre Dame does with football. So, pretty excited to see what Oregon State can do next year. To be honest, I think Mitch Canham's got a pretty good group there. Obviously, lose Bazan and a couple other guys this year. Aiden May's probably gone. But like Trent Caraway comes back next year. Gavin Turley's a big piece in that 2025 plan. I think they'll be just fine, but it'll be interesting to see how they schedule there. You muted yourself.
We're keeping this.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how some of the schedules impact these Pac-12 teams as well. Just because, right? You're talking about neutral sites. You're talking about potential flights across the country, and it's not just going to impact the Pac-12 teams. It's going to impact the conferences that they're joining, the teams in those conferences as well. So I'll be interested to kind of see how that works for baseball. The neutral site thing, it's not going to be fun playing in like Texas with no fans if no one's coming to a Maryland versus UCLA baseball game. Like, who Texas is going to that?
I can't wait for the UCLA Rutgers Sunday rubber match at 8 a.m. at Rutgers. So, like,
good luck with that.
Yeah, and I know with the ACC, like, I have heard that like Stanford and Cal are going to take a bulk of the traveling to Carolina and like the East Coast next year.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it's going to be for like 2 years, and then they'll have a year where all the East Coast teams go to the West Coast. That's just a rumor. I don't know if it's going to be confirmed or legit, but that's going to be stressful on not only the coaches but the student athletes as well. Like, you got to remember, these guys have a loaded class schedule, practice, everything on top of that, and now you're going cross country. You're part of California, and yet all of a sudden, hey, we're part of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Like,
yeah,
that's another thing. It doesn't make sense with some of the realignment stuff. Like,
no,
don't get me wrong, some of the Stanford guys are pretty cool if they stay there this year. Like, Matt Scott, Joey Volchko are two guys that really stand out for me on that Stanford squad, and Cal's got some intriguing guys too. But like, they're going to be wearing it, man.
Yeah,
it's gonna be tough for them.
Yeah. My question is, I had a buddy bring this up too, just looking at some of these, the Super Regional being all ACC and SECs. Like, is that an impact of the NIL? Is that an impact of kind of everybody moving to Power 5 conferences? And maybe, but I don't know. You still have mid-majors that are really good. Like UC Santa Barbara was good this year. You have Campbell, who's always been pretty good. ECU's been good. So I feel like in the baseball realm, it's like maybe it has some impact, but also like, there was a lot of mid-majors that were really good in the tournament this year.
Yeah, I want to say that's probably like 50-50. Like, you still had pretty good representation for the Pac-12 and the Super Regionals. In like Evansville.
Yeah.
Evansville
UConn
made the surprising run. UConn made a good run. Like,
There's
I
good
think at the end of the day,
there.
yeah, like I think at the end of the day, like, yes, I think there is a role that is played through NIL and everything like that. Does this become the norm? Probably not. I really don't think it will be. I think the Big 10 and the Big 12 are going to have more representation next year, especially with like Arizona going to the Big 12. Arizona's really loaded next year, and I'm excited to see what Chappelle can do. But like, I think at the end of the day, this is probably just one of the years where like everything just happened to fall the right way for this to happen. But to say NIL didn't have a big impact on this is probably a lie too. Like NIL definitely had a play in this in some way, shape, or form. And we're even seeing it now with transfer portal. Like portal is going to go off here in the next couple of days, I think, with supers ending and going into Omaha. Like it's about to get crazy.
Yeah, I agree. So we got to talk about the one big story that came out of the Super Regional. Braden Montgomery broke his right ankle in the game. What are they saying? 2 weeks? Something I thought Jeremy Booth tweeted out.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
my guy, his leg's broken.
I know. That's what it said. In his
2 weeks, my ass.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks of the boot, but I don't know if that's going to be a 2-week injury recovery.
No, I just looking at the injury, like his foot basically folded underneath him. I think the spike caught in the dirt. Yeah, if that's a 2-week injury, there's some weird stuff going on in College Station, let me tell you. But no, it's brutal. I don't think it's going to affect his draft stock too much because I mean he's already proven to us what kind of player and prospect he is. Like he's had the whole year to basically show us. I don't think an injury, in Super Regionals is going to really affect that all that much, especially since the draft's like a month and some change away at this point. But it definitely stings. Like A&M lost Shane Sadeo too. He came out of the game yesterday with a elbow injury, but he passed a physical test in the dugout immediately after. They're getting MRI. We'll see what happens there. But A&M did not have good injury luck this week, but still made it to Omaha. So we'll see how they face adversity over there.
Yeah. Okay, so he said he would be moving around again inside of 2 weeks. I mean, swinging a bat and again in a couple months.
Oh, and Charlie Condon just went yard.
Uh-oh.
That was a laser off the bat to the opposite field.
How many outs?
1 out, bottom 9. It's 8-5. Yeah, 37 home runs, by the way, for Condon. 102, 337 off the bat, opposite field.
Someone doesn't want to stop hitting home runs. He wants to go to the College World Series and hit more. We'll see.
Yeah.
Still 3-run lead, but college baseball, anything can happen.
9th inning outs are the hardest to get.
Yeah. Well, you talked about Texas A&M, right, having to step up. I mean, that offense went absolutely absurd without Braden Montgomery. So it's cool to see that team can kind of take that and push themselves towards the College World Series. Hopefully they can, like you said, overcome some of those injuries.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think they can. They've had some weird ones throughout the year too. God, I'm trying to think. Like, I think Tanner Jones was hurt at one point, and he was like a helium guy like halfway through the season, and now kind of like I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I mean, we'll see. Like, I do think they got the depth to make it happen. But now you're kind of putting more pressure on Jace Laviolette.
Yeah.
Which I think he can handle it. Like, my man's going to be one of the leading home run hitters in college baseball history next year, I think. A full season, I think he's up there with like, amongst the top 5. Yeah.
We have a top 30 2025 college players coming out soon. Let's say he's ranked pretty high. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not going to sit here and tell you who's ranked where or anything at this point.
Another top 2025 guy I wanted to talk about too is we had to talk about, even though Clemens got eliminated, Cam Canarilla's awesome catch. Willie Mays style catch in the outfield.
He was just completely in the air for that too.
Yeah.
Mind you. Like granted, loaded. Granted, it was not a good route. Let me tell you, the route running could have been better, but like over shoulder basket catch.
Yep.
Just jumped up. It wasn't in the glove, by the way. It hit the heel of his glove, and he had to corral it basically against his chest to hold on to it. But like, after hitting the game-tying home run the inning before, saving the season essentially. Yeah, that was impressive. And mind you, he's been playing on a torn labrum since the 4th game of the season. If you're curious as to why he has like no stolen bases on his scorecard this year, that's why. Couldn't dive headfirst in the bases because he had the issue with the shoulder. Comes out as a torn labrum. He's getting surgery for it this summer, I think, is what the report was I saw earlier. I think at this point, you get a fully healthy Canarella, he might be your 1-1 favorite because it's looking like a legitimate center fielder with good bat to ball skills, growing power, really good runner. Like it's top of the first round profile.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta love the athleticism there. Any other super regional stories you want to touch on?
None that I could think of, apart from the fact that we do have a runner on first now in Athens. Derek Smith did walk Slate Alford. So I'm starting to get a little bit more nervous, but we'll see. We'll see. We've still got some.
Got some time.
Derek Smith is not throwing the fastball for strikes.
If you can't tell, if we have some long pauses in this podcast, it's because Tyler's freaking out and is very distracted by the game. So, sorry, but these are important
I'm not
times.
sorry. I'm not. You guys get to watch live reactions of me either going to lose my crap here in a couple minutes or turning depressed. Like,
yeah.
Anyways, stop it. Let's do it.
And moving on, NC State's okay. It's like the everything is fine gif that we have going on. That's Tyler right now, just sitting there, smile on his face, pretending nothing's happening. It's great. That next big news story we have to touch on: South Carolina hiring former LSU coach Paul Mainieri. Pretty big hire.
Just a little bit. A little bit. I wasn't expecting that. That was not on my bingo card this year because he did retire for health reasons a couple years ago after LSU did make that run to the Supers from, I think it was the Oregon Regional. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because obviously Mainieri did not have to deal with NIL. And it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates that because he's never had to deal with it. From the sounds of it, Terry Rooney's coming over from LSU, and they're going to hold on to Monty Lee, who I thought was going to be the head coach moving forward. And Monty's been a head coach at College Charleston. He was at Clemson before Backish came back from Michigan. He's done well in the recruiting coordinator position that he's held at South Carolina. You get PJ Morlando and a couple other high-profile prep guys. Cameron Appenzeller, next year's class is a good one. Carson Messina, Cole Messina's brothers there, and they've gotten some good guys in the portal. I definitely thought Monty was going to get this.
What happened?
We're going to Omaha, baby.
Oh, okay.
We're going to
There's
Omaha.
a long pause there, and I was like, he's either. And that is it live. Well, this is recording. You're going to get this on Wednesday or Thursday morning. But NC State is going to the College World Series.
Dude.
Gotta love it. And they will get Kentucky. A hot Kentucky squad.
So
but
the
NC
reason
State
why
also hot.
The reason I had to stop there because Trey Phelps hit the first pitch to dead center, and I thought it was gone. I'm not gonna lie.
It was like a real quick silence, and I was like, "Ooh, this is bad." That's the first thing that popped in my head.
I heard the ping of the bat off the broadcast, man. Let me tell you that scared me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Good times.
This is awesome. I love it. If anybody needs me later this weekend before I fly to Florida for vacation, I'm going to be at Sports and Social and Cary watching the first game in Omaha because I'm not going to Omaha. I don't have the money for it, but like,
Yeah.
oh man, that feels good. It feels good. Anyways, back to Mainieri. Like, I touched on it before. It's gonna be interesting with NIL. I'm really curious to see if they can hold on to Ethan Petrie personally.
Yeah.
There has been some rumblings about that happening. You're talking about a kid from Florida, had a pretty tough year. Maybe somebody does throw some money at him. I have no idea, but I think at the end of the day, prioritizing keeping Petrie and bringing in talent to go around him. If Petrie has a really good year next year, you're looking at a guy that could be a first rounder. But right now, with the year that he's had, it's really tough to kind of pin him as maybe even a day one kind of bat. Like, I think teams exploited his swing to the point where there is some issues with the pure hit tool. I'm not confident that he's going to hit enough at the next level. And when you're looking at the guy that's, uh, basically a 20 runner, doesn't really have a ton of athleticism. Like, yeah, he's worked right field recently for South Carolina. I think he's a first baseman at the end of the day. Like 6'5", 235, I do believe is what he's listed at. It's really tough to kind of put a pure college first baseman with hitting issues in the first round for next year's class. And that's just looking from a year out plus. Like, he could come out next year, turn into like Nick Kurtz or Jack Caglianone and just push himself back into that consideration.
Yeah.
Because he is that talented. We saw him as a freshman. This is a really powerful young man. But you do have to realize that there's going to be a lot of pressure on the bat to perform. If you hang on to him, you're going to have to really shell out some money. And you're really going to have to build that team around him. And I think Mainieri is going to have a tough task on that front, as well as really just trying to keep South Carolina competitive in a really tough SEC conference. That it's they're going to be losing some pieces. Cole Messina's probably gone. Roman Kimball, to be decided. I think somebody might pay him, but at the end of the day, like, he could just go back to school and get a full healthy season under his belt. Matthew Becker's probably coming back next year. Could be a starter. Will Tippett's another guy that, like, he doesn't really hit for a ton of average, but he's got some sneaky pop, can play some shortstop. It's really going to be interesting to see how South Carolina navigates the rest of the offseason at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, new coach is always hard, no matter like what sport you coach, right? It's a completely reset. Like, the first year is always tough. You get less time to recruit. Like, this time, I think he'll have at least a decent amount of time because he's coming in now during the transfer portal. But I've had friends who've gone and coached and they've taken over too late, and then next thing you know, you're not getting the recruiting class you want. So it's kind of, even when we interviewed Jason Kelly, the Washington head coach, he kind of talked about it as well, where he was just like, yeah, I got lucky because I got basically all the guys who were there last year, and really put together a good team. So it'll be interesting to see how they do.
Absolutely. And I think South Carolina makes this hire knowing they can really support him and really just help him construct everything around him. Really, like, Mainieri is a legend. We all know this. Like, 1,500 game winner, has been in Omaha. He won in 2009 with LSU. I think he went to Omaha with Notre Dame in like 02 or 03, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I could be mistaken. I'm going to double check that just to be sure. But we'll see what happens. He's 66 years old. Well, actually, 66 years young. He's
Yeah.
a young lad.
The age had me a little interested because, like, you usually see a lot of younger guys getting the call. But I mean, it's hard. The track record's good. Like, if you're a program like South Carolina and you're trying to turn things around, you can't fault the track record there.
Yeah, and it was 02 that Notre Dame went to the College World Series. I remember that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. Like, I'm going to be an optimist right now. I'm sure there's probably a lot of pessimistic people out there. I just want to see how it goes first before I really decide to, like, put my chips in and say this is a great hire or like this is really weird. Why did they get rid of Kamar Kingston for this? So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna stay optimistic. Say that South Carolina makes a tournament next year, could host. You will see. But I think it really all depends on how the rest of the offseason goes for them. You're silent.
This is the lovely part about a Yeti microphone for anybody who wants to buy. The plug comes out and you get automatically muted. It's fantastic. So remember that if you have a Yeti microphone. Or I just need to get a new wire. It's probably my fault. User error. We'll just go with that. We don't really have any other big news stories for this week. We have some transfer portal updates of like where guys have gone, but most of you have probably seen that on Twitter by now. Our goal is that we're going to have the guys from 64 Analytics come on at some point when the transfer portal's closed to do a really big breakdown of that, because they're all kind of trickling in right now. A lot to keep up with, and it's fine to go over the names now, but probably going to wait and do that a little bit later for you all so we can actually get some in-depth analysis on that. What do you have coming up? Anything big for you that you're working on?
Not really at the moment. Obviously, we're going to work on the 2025 top 30 college guys. Like, we're just waiting on really just one of the last guys in the portal to kind of commit that's in that top 30. I don't want to push it out while he's still in the portal because then it's like have to go back in, rewrite the whole thing, yada, yada. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to, put that name out there and be like, hey, this is where we have this guy on this list. Like, we'll see what happens. But the list is going to be free for any readers and viewers. It just feels like we do need to put something out for that class. And that's kind of like our bow to the viewers and the readers. Like, hey, we're going to have this free for you guys. This is how we kind of look at how 2025 is going to shape up. And we'll do a prep list, top 30 at some point. We're kind of just waiting to see how the summer kind of rolls off because there's already been NPI. There's going to be PG National in a couple weeks. So I want to kind of see how everything evolves before I'm like, here's the legitimate top 30 and like doing it so early in the summer. It's really tough, especially when we don't have the knowledge on this class either. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it and I have a decent top 10. But outside of that, still trying to get my footing on it. So I don't want to like be too quick and push it out there. Apart from that, player profiles are coming out. Jared's got a couple of Eric Catlett and Chase Burns is definitely among the ones that I've seen that you've worked on. Even Jay Woolfolk too, which I'm excited to see because he's really turned the corner for Virginia. And like Patrick's going to be working on a couple of them. I've got a couple lined up. I want to kind of dive into Cal Steven and Durangelo Sinjay from Mississippi State because those are two arms that could be really, really good in pro ball, in my opinion. But outside of that, like just catching up on film still, it's tough when, hey, I'm still in school. I got 3 classes a week at this point. It's a drag, and like day job is getting in the way a little bit. Going on vacation next week is going to be very exciting because my family and I have not been on vacation and feels like forever. So I'm pretty excited for what's coming up, and then obviously like come back from vacation, going to do collegiate national team, which we'll have a preview out for that. Not quitting the yearly tradition at this point because I love doing it. It's one of my fun little pastimes to kind of like write up these guys, learn more about the classes. And with collegiate this year, they're kind of splitting everything up. So like underclass will have a team, upper class will have a team. They'll face each other in training camp. Then the upper class will face Chinese Taipei in a friendly series. The underclass will go on a tour of the Appy League. And then it all culminates in the 4th of July game in Fayetteville where they'll face off against each other. So I'm excited for that. And they just announced the 18U trials in Cary in July. I think it's the 17th through the 21st. So we'll be there for those. And then, of course, we're still trying to figure out draft day streams, recordings. We could be there. We're still waiting on confirmation on that. I'm excited to see if, we do get it, what we have in store for you guys, because I think it's going to be a very special event for us to cover. We've obviously never been, and I think it'll just be fantastic for us to get the opportunity. It's a big moment for us as a site, and I think it really just is a culmination of all of our hard work and dedication to what we do and what we love. It's a team effort. I've said it before, said it again, and I'm going to keep saying it because, I understand that like as much as I'm the leader of this group, it's not just me doing everything. It's, Jared's doing everything. We're recording and getting interviews set up and everything. Getting written stuff up. Patrick's done a fantastic job with helping out. Rekka's been a fantastic help. Brian Switzer, Will has been fantastic. And Jake Bardry, a bunch of the other guys we brought on too, like they've done fantastic stuff this year. And I feel like that needs to be put out there and appreciated for everybody that listens to this. Because they just do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And I absolutely am thankful to have these guys behind my back, because I honestly, like, there's been times where I've just wanted to quit and move on and just do something else in life. Like, if it's not for those guys and not for you, not for anyone else, like, there's no chance I'm here. So,
most of us aren't here without your leadership. So
that's also true. I don't feel like I'm a good leader, but like, hey, I'm trying. And that's another thing too. I don't want to take credit for everything.
yeah,
It's really just not a one-man show. This is a full team effort, and I feel like I would be doing a disservice to everybody at the site if I just said like, "Hey, this is all my doing." Like, no, I'm not that kind of cheapskate. Essentially, like I want to get everybody credit for what they do, and at the end of the day, like, everybody has their share. Everybody does what they can, and it's appreciated on all fronts. So, sap story over, but like, that's just another thing that I just want to put out there for you guys, because it really is appreciated, especially with the viewers and the readers too. Like, you guys push us to keep doing this. It's fantastic that we even have this kind of following that we do. Like, if you had told me that we would have a pretty lengthy list of subscribers after we did our top 300, I thought you would be lying to me, to be honest. And it's all like, we're going to try and make sure we get content out for the subscribers, so that way we have an incentive for you guys to stay. So I'm excited to see what we have in store for next month. But yeah, to kind of just break it down, top 30 2025, college list, prep list will be coming out soon. Collegiate national team preview. I'll be on vacation. Jared, what do you have in store? Because I want to hear what you have.
I have MLB Draft League coverage. Exciting times. The Frederick Keys are right around the corner from me, about 25 minutes away. Some pretty good prospects in that league right now. Some of the guys that are on our top 300 will be playing in there. First series that's coming up, Frederick has been on the road, so tomorrow night we'll be watching Trenton Thunder take on the Frederick Keys. A lot of prospects in that one. The legend of Rentaro Sasaki will be making his U.S. debut in the draft league. Got signed to the Trenton Thunder just today, I believe. I can't remember. It was an MLB reporter that broke it. Need to find his name at some point just to credit him. But he'll be playing in that league. As you all know, he skipped the draft in Japan, the Nippon Baseball League draft to go to Stanford, and committed to Stanford. We'll be playing at Stanford next year, I believe it is. So he's an interesting prospect to see how he handles some of the top talent in the league. Some other guys will be playing in that game for Trenton. Braden Bergman will be on the mound to start. Josiah Romero, one of the top pitching prospects out of Canada, will be pitching in that game as well. Jackson Strong's playing. Brendan Lawson, who's one of the top prospects coming out of Canada as well, will be playing shortstop. So a lot of good talent on Trenton. Brock Tibbetts will be playing for Frederick. Indiana guy. Cam Clayton out of Washington will be playing for Frederick as well. And Wyatt Evans, who hasn't pitched in a long time. University of Tennessee guy will be pitching on the mound. I think he's coming in second in that game. So be interesting to see. I might not go to the Williamsport games on the weekend because it doesn't look like there's going to be as many guys that might be of interest, but might be worth checking them out just to see if anybody pops off the radar. So that'll be most of what I'm working on. Again, like Tyler said, still working on some of those MLB draft spotlights, just of all the live looks that I've done throughout the season. And that's mostly about it. Then trying to put together a podcast interviews. We got some really cool guests coming up, so I think you'll like those.
I'm excited to see what we have coming up in store with those interviews too, man. Like,
it's
going to be very fun. Another thing too that I just came across on Twitter, AJ Russell, one of the top 2025 eligible arms in the country, is going to have TJ this week. Really a big blow for Tennessee, because Russell came into the year with high expectations, and it's a really interesting data set really for him, because it's a low release fastball with a ton of carry and really comes in flat, so he misses a ton of bats, and he's worked on a slider and a changeup, but had an oblique injury to start the year, then kind of really, I think he pitched like 1 or 2 games and then had an elbow issue, stayed out, came back towards, I think it was SEC tournament, but only lasted like a couple innings before he had to come out with an elbow injury. Now it's confirmed that he has a torn UCL, is going to be out for next year, which sucks. Because he really did have some healing coming into the year. And obviously we mentioned Sadeo earlier with seeing how that kind of rolls out.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he's already got an invite to collegiate this year. I think Texas A&M's probably going to play it safe with him and just tell him not to throw this year, or this summer rather. But we'll see what happens. MRI, they said, was later this week. We'll see how the results come in from that. But all the signs look positive. But obviously, injuries are very, very, very wild.
Yeah.
So like you could barely feel it, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, by the way, everything's torn. You got to get surgery. So we'll see what happens. That Russell going down is a big blow for Tennessee, because that's definitely a really good arm.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. See what happens in the College World Series. We don't have an interview that I know of this week. We might, depending on if we can get something scheduled on Wednesday. So I won't say turn it over to that interview, but maybe you'll get lucky and we'll be turning it over to that interview. So till next time, we'll see you guys.